Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there, my name is Douglas Cocroft and welcome to Taxidermy Truths. It's in the details is today's series, and I'd like to have a brief discussion surrounding the details in both the practical side of taxidermy and the client engagement in the taxidermy process. So the saying is the devil is in the details, and this couldn't be more true in a sense of us creating, as taxidermists, beautiful artwork based upon a memory. Traditional art, like an oil painting, is often done through inspiration of the artist. The artist expresses themselves in this art medium with canvas, unless it's a commission, in which case the details do come into play. So in a sense, every single animal that a taxidermist works on is a commissionable piece. We need, as taxidermists, a brief on what you expect. If it's a very broad brief, I just want a straight shoulder mount. A straight shoulder mount is easily achieved. But there are details in the planning that will give the owner of that piece far more enjoyment out of that animal for years to come. We just need to know those details. So for example, if you were to mount a bushbuck, very simple South African plains game, small 16, 15-inch spiral horns. If you mount that animal above 8 feet, suddenly the horns start to get smaller. They angle back naturally on the head. So the question is, as an artist, do we drop the head to make the horns more pronounced? In which case you can hang it higher up. So if you have a plan in mind for your showroom where you want to position certain animals higher up, certain animals lower down, it's important to communicate that with the taxidermist. Give them the details. Manage that expectation. Because as an artist, and our canvas being the skin of the animal, taxidermy is about producing anatomically correct, beautiful animals that bring back the memories of your incredible adventure. So with a clear brief, an artist is able to produce a more accurate representation of what you expect as the hunter. Left turn, right turn, pedestal mount, wall pedestal, semi-sneak, alert. There are a multitude of poses that have been fairly standardized in the taxidermy industry today. Again, important to communicate with the taxidermist, whether it's a South African taxidermist, a European taxidermist, or an American taxidermist. You need to communicate what you envisage. And remember, what I call a wall pedestal, someone else might call an offset shoulder mount. What I might call an aggressive pose, someone else might call an alert pose. So communicate the look, the essence of what you'd like to see. And as the hunter, only hunters know what that animal was doing in the moment when that incredible journey of the hunt culminated in harvesting that trophy. So by sharing these details, telling the artist about your story, telling the artist about what it means to you, an artist is then able to express those emotions in a physical form, and in our case, taxidermy. So details are critical. especially when we spend money that we've worked hard for. And we don't want to see it wasted. It's an investment. You're investing in your experience. You're investing in the longevity of many, many animals throughout the world. Without adding that value, who would look after an animal? So those details for the artist are critical. Those details give the artist your backstory, and that's what makes it personal. There are other details that are important. The details that go into taxidermy. Now, in days of old, taxidermy looked scary, at very least scary. The mannequins were made out of wire armatures and had straw loosely bound around them, and then clay and glue and half a marble for an eye. The skin was tanned with chemicals that weren't necessarily designed to preserve the hair follicle. So the hair after a while fell out. It turned yellow. They looked terrible. The eyes became bug-eyed. We've all seen them. We've seen those ugly taxidermy mounts of that cat that looks like it's been hit by a bus. But so much has happened that taxidermy today is an advanced art form. It embraces science, chemistry, technology, art, all coming together and culminating in one incredible piece that is not only beautiful to anyone who sees it, but it conjures up the memories and the stories that are attached to that journey. So the detail in taxidermy has changed. The mannequin, for me, it's a very important part of the process. In fact, I'd say it is the most important part. When the mannequin is correct and the mannequin is accurate, the skin sets into that mannequin well. It pronounces the details that have been sculpted meticulously into that mannequin, and it brings that animal to life. Without the musculature and the details in that mannequin, every single animal would look fundamentally the same. The skin would look stretched. It would have no definitive movement or definition, and it would look dead. It would look, and I'm going to use the word carefully, stuffed. So I've been asked that question many times. You go to a function, in South Africa we call it a braai, you're standing around, you meet new people and they ask what you do for a living, and you've got an accountant, you've got a lawyer, you've got a builder, someone who's in retail, and then quietly, I'm a taxidermist. And all the eyes swing across and go, what do you mean you're a taxidermist? That's so unusual. And they start talking to you about what you do and how you do it. I'm proud to be a taxidermist. I'm proud of the detail that I'm able to capture. And in explaining it to these new people that I've just met, they all ask the same question. How do you stuff an animal? As a taxidermist, we don't stuff an animal. I'll tell you that. Let me completely obliterate that myth. As a taxidermist, we are wildlife artists. Our canvas is the skin. Our sculpture, the mannequin, is what brings the skin to life. It gives it movement. It gives it personality. So those details that the artist takes a lot of time to put into these pieces is what makes every artist unique. What I see in a taxidermy piece compared to another taxidermist may be entirely different. They might emphasize big, bold shoulders and a heavy neck, but put less emphasis on the anatomy around the eye and the earbud and the way the head tilts. I'm more of a perfectionist, and I would tend to look at the anatomy of the whole. I believe in proportions, making sure the proportions are correct for each individual animal, because every animal is different and every animal is a custom piece. The details that the taxidermist captures is not just down to the mannequin. There are small details that get put in with clay. There are details that get put in with the paint and the layering of paint. When you bring the life back to a skin that has gone through a synthetic process. The process of tanning, unfortunately, can be quite harsh. Any woman or male out there may recognize after dyeing your hair how your hair becomes brittle and dry. Now, if that's done with what is truly a mild chemical, the chemicals used in tanning can be called aggressive because they change the dynamic of that skin entirely. So the chemicals can affect the hair. The details, again, have improved. Tanning today it's a science, it's chemistry. In the old days, it was hit and miss. But today, the success rate in tanning is much, much higher. But it still reduces color and changes the look of the skin. The finishing process puts those details back into the skin. It's finishing the art piece. It's the final glaze on an oil painting. It's the detail that makes a sculpture out of bronze move for one person in one way and for another person it moves in a different way. It's those tiny details. And as you get to the end of the process of taxidermy, of mounting that animal, the detail gets finer. It starts with big movements of a mannequin, big movements of a skin. And then slowly but surely, it's refined down to the smallest movement, where you're putting in a touch of varnish just to wet the tip of the eyelid so that the eyes look wet. They look alive. And it's those details that differentiate between okay taxidermy and exceptional artwork. I'm passionate about taxidermy. I'm passionate about the art of wildlife and animals. And over the years, I found that the more detail I can put into this animal to bring it back to a true reflection of what it is, the happier I am and more fulfilled I am as an artist. And when you have a taxidermist who's fulfilled by doing your wonderful animal for you, you can be assured that when you put it on your wall, in a showroom, in a gallery, you'll be proud of it. It'll bring back the memories. And all of the details that you've shared with the artist will be mirrored by the details that the artist then shares with you. This is another taxidermy truth. Again, I'm passionate about taxidermy, and I believe that as hunters, we all want to relive those incredible journeys through the art of taxidermy.